Welcome to Adventures in Science, starring Adventure Man, Susie Science, and Ms. Director. Hello, science fans. I'm Adventure Man.
I'm Susie Science, and I'm Ms. Director.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Adventures in Science. Today we'll be learning about properties.
One thing all scientists like to do is put things into different groups. They observe things to see what they're like, what properties they have, and match them up with other things that have similar properties. Then they can put them into groups together.
Right. Things that have similar properties, things that are the same, can go together in the same group.
There's a name for that, you know. When scientists put things into different groups with similar properties, we call it
Putting things into groups.
classification.
Classification. Right. Yes, I knew that. That's right. Classification. When we put things into groups based on their properties, we're classifying them.
Susie, can you remind our audience what we mean by properties? Sure. It just means what things are like. For example, some of the properties of this trophy are gold, shiny, hard, and made of plastic.
Some of the properties of this guitar pick are: it has a rounded triangle shape, it's white, it's made of plastic, it's smooth, and it's flexible, which means it can bend a little.
That's right. But remember, something only counts as a property if it describes what something is like, not how it makes you feel. For something to be a property, it has to be true for anyone who observes it. Here's an example. If I ask you to name one property of this bat, and you tell me the bat is brown, well, that is a property. Why? Because it's not a feeling, it's a fact that can be checked. Everyone with healthy vision can agree that this bat is brown.
Right. But if you say the bat is scary, that's not a property, because it isn't a fact. It's just your opinion. Someone else might not agree that it's scary.
Personally, I think it's kind of cute. But since that is just how I feel about the bat, it's just my opinion, it's not a fact.
And that's why scary can't be considered a property.
And now I think you'd better release that bat back into the wild before his family comes looking for him.
Can you imagine? Huh?
Two hours later.
I don't know how, but I feel pretty sure you made that happen.
Who, me?
Anyway, moving right along.
So, to help us learn, scientists can look at the properties of different things, then classify them by putting them into groups with other things that have those same properties.
Or, to say it in plain English, scientists like making groups of things that are the same.
That is correct. Now here's an amazing science fact. Believe it or not, everything everywhere is made of the same exact stuff. It's called matter.
That's really weird, because things can sure look very different. But you're telling us that everything in the world is made of the same stuff, something called matter, right?
You got it.
So are you telling me that a rock is made of the same stuff as a stick? Water is made of the same stuff as dirt? My shirt is made of the same stuff as paper?
That's right. Everything everywhere is made of matter.
Well, then, if everything is made of the same stuff, how come it all looks so different?
Great question. The answer is because the way the matter is put together can be very different. And when you put it together in different ways, it has very different properties.
So it's made of the same stuff, matter, but if you put that matter together differently, you end up with things that look very different?
Right. They look different and they can have very different properties. Cut! Adventure Man, I have a great idea. I know you're pretty good at origami. Why don't you fold us up a few different origami models that we can use as an example?
Well, I guess there's a first time for everything. It sounds like you finally came up with a suggestion that doesn't involve risk of great bodily harm to me.
Of course!
A little later.
Okay, Ms. Director, I've made 6 origami models. For those of you who don't know, origami is the Japanese art of making models by folding paper. So, why do we need these?
To demonstrate that even though everything in the world is made of the same stuff, matter, it all looks very different because of the way it's put together.
Ah, I get it. Great idea. Here we have a few things that all look very different, but all made of exactly the same stuff, paper. But what I did with that paper was very different. Each of these origami models was made of just one piece of white paper. Let's take a look at them. A heart, an airplane, a bat, a dragon, a cube, and a boat. Do they look the same? Definitely not. They all look very different, but they're all made of exactly the same thing, one sheet of white paper. I folded them all differently, so that's why they all look so different.
And it's the same kind of thing with matter. Of course, it's much more complicated than that, but that's the basic idea. Everything everywhere is made of matter. It's all made of the same stuff. A rock is made of the same stuff as a stick, but they have very different properties because the matter is just put together very differently. And by the way, Adventure Man, those are some really cool origami models. Will that boat actually float?
Sure will. Watch this.
Wow, nicely done. That's really cool. Cut! Great work, team. Listen, I have another fantastic idea. You are going to love this. Adventure Man, since the origami boat actually floats, let's have you work with the production team to make a full-sized one that you can actually ride in.
Ha! That's a great idea. Let's do it. We're going to need one big, giant piece of paper, though.
That's okay. We'll just get in touch with the local paper mill. I'm sure they'll be able to help us.
2 days and many, many paper creases later.
All right, you did it.
Here goes the maiden voyage of the USS Adventurer.
Why don't you tell us about some of its properties, Adventure Man?
Sure, it's made of paper, it's white, it's smooth, it's 7 feet long, it's flexible, meaning that it's bendy, it's buoyant, that means it can float, and those are just some of the properties of the USS Adventurer.
But since it's made of paper, doesn't that mean it's also absorbent? Won't it soak up water and fall apart?
You're right, it will. So it won't last very long, but that's okay. We only need it for a few minutes of filming. I'll be back on shore long before I have to worry about sinking.
Okay, Adventure Man, I think that's good. Come on back in.
The water's moving a little bit faster here. I'll see if I can get over.
Be careful, there's a waterfall coming up, you know.
2 hours later.
Well, that was an adventure.
Let's review what we learned today. Scientists like to observe things, to look at them closely, and see what their properties are. Properties are things that tell what something is like: hard or soft, smooth or rough, how big something is, what color it is, things like that.
Scientists also like to put things into groups to study them. They look at their properties and create groups of things that have similar properties. Making groups of things based on their properties is called classification.
Everything in the world is made of the same stuff, called matter. When matter is put together in different ways, it makes things that have very different properties.
And that concludes today's exciting episode of Adventures in Science. Thanks for joining us.